All right, so it's late in the evening and I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. So let's get straight into it. P.O.L.N was our game from Minefield Games, and I'm gonna go through what we did right and what we did wrong. Mostly the wrongs, because almost everything we did was wrong. So my background is in Minefield Games and also FIVR after that. The idea of Minefield Games was simple. We checked that who have been the successful companies that have infiltrated into the tech paradigm shifts, and then we decided that now is the time to do VR gaming in 2013. Obviously, in hindsight, maybe too early, maybe, but we were a pioneer of VR gaming, so that's about right. So our core team was actually very experienced overall. So we had, of course, this is in Finland, so we had people from Rovio and Remedy and Red Lynx and so on. This is only part of the team. This is the team that we employed earlier this year. But on tops we had 19 employees, so quite a big company by at least Finnish standards. So P.O.L.N was a first-person exploration game, or a walking simulator, as you would say it. So the things I'm going to go over are the things that I wish I knew if I would do this again, or I wish I knew if I could have sent myself message back in the time. So first of all, so we started in 2013. So DK1 was out, DK2 wasn't out. Oculus was still a private company, not owned by Facebook. We didn't know what to expect. We had speculation on how are the hand controllers coming on, and what is the software support going to be in the future, but we didn't know. So we had to constantly guess. And we were way too optimistic about how soon could Oculus ship the actual product to the customers. It took way longer than we expected. And on top of that, of course, Facebook bought them, and they told that, yeah, it's going to take 2 more years. And after that, it took more time and more time and more time. And we just should have released the game back then. This might not be such a problem nowadays, since there are already consumer versions out. But back in the day, we just really wanted to do a VR game, so the team was not okay with just publishing on PC. They wanted to wait for the Oculus launch, and that was one of the biggest mistakes. Also, we didn't have any connections to Oculus, so we didn't know what they were planning. We were only reliant on like press information. So you should always get insider knowledge from hardware manufacturers. So I don't know what the cost of development in Ukraine is, but in Finland it's quite expensive. So every month that we delayed the project, it raised the budget of the project for about 45,000 euros. So in the end, it was quite an expensive product at about 1.3 million euros. And even when we decided that we were on the Oculus launch date, the product was delayed further because of graphical bliss. So when we started, we thought that, wow, it would be so cool to make everything so realistic. But does it really have added value that everything's realistic? Graphics sell games, but in VR you can stylize the graphic, and it can be anything you want, because once you put the headset on, you're in that world. It doesn't need to look like this world. And this was one of the biggest time-consuming things, that because our artists demanded that since we're doing a photorealistic game, everything needs to be photorealistic. And then we had delays, for example, because we did remake graphics on a toilet paper roll or something minute as that. And it really doesn't matter that much. So because all the assets were so heavy, it also we couldn't launch on the Oculus when it came. Actually, we didn't launch Oculus at all because it didn't run on the required frame rate, and also PSVR. And if you know about the sales numbers of Oculus and PSVR, then you know that we just cut the most of the market away by not being able to sell to those markets. So basically what we did the VR came for Oculus. We didn't launch it on Oculus. We couldn't launch it on PSVR. So in the end, it was in Steam for PC and Vive. But we didn't have hand controller support because we didn't know that there were going to be hand controllers or when were they going to come. So we did it afterwards, but it really doesn't help to do them afterwards. You will see from the sales graphs that it, like if you update afterwards, the effect is almost non-existent. So another thing that went really wrong, there was strong artistic vision of what the game should be like, and this is a thin line because games are an art, but they're also business, and artists don't like to be told if some other guy doesn't like their work, right? And then maybe it leads to bad decisions, ill-informed decisions, because it's going to be what the artist wanted it to be and not what the customer wanted it to be. But you're trying to sell it to the customers. And of course, a thing that is linked to the sales of the game, of course, is the price level that you set on the game. And if the customer does not like the gameplay, or think it's boring or too niche, or doesn't like it in general. For example, if your artist really likes some obscure movie from the past and makes the game just like that, the customers won't get it, like the mainstream won't get it. And when the mainstream won't get it, you can't ask for a higher price. So the team really needs to be flexible on business choices, because games are art, but also a business. And that is a big thing that I would change if we would do Minefield games again. So in Steam, you can soon see that the wrong price really kills the reviews, and when you get mixed in Steam, your sales almost die immediately. No one's gonna buy your game if it's mixed. Especially important in VR, because if you look at the reviews for VR games, most of them are negative because of the price. People ask too much money for VR games. Maybe because the development is, or used to be, super expensive, but you really need, for you to survive, you need to do fast demos with low budget. Spending 1.3 million euros into a game is not going to break even. No way. And it's inherently in P.O.L.N.'s reviews, like 60% of the negative reviews are about the price. So another thing, when we launch, I really wish that we known. I tried to find some stats from Steam about how do the sales graph goes, and how do people discover your game actually, and how all that works. So I decided to share this, since Minefield game doesn't exist anymore. I don't have an NDA, so I can share this stuff with you guys. So you can see that the Steam homepage, which is the launch visibility that they give you, is the top number on the list. But then you can also see through the click-through rate that Steam curators actually just give you 6% click-through rate, which is incredibly low, because you probably follow curators who like the games that you like. Why did only 6% click through? That's really weird. Maybe the curators didn't like the game. So maybe that's something that developers should focus on talking to the curators. Of course, the best things are recommendations, but that's a whole thing. I don't know how they decide what recommended for who. So that's not something that you can really focus on. We did spend a lot of money, like not as much as budget-wise on the game, but we did spend tens of thousands of euros into paid advertisements. It's super hard to track, basically. So the external websites factor for 126,000 visits, which is a lot. But you can track which one came from the paid advertisements and which one came from, for example, YouTube, because there's a lot of streamers and usually people who watch the stream and like the game, they click through, but it's almost impossible to say. So divided by time, you can see that we had a green light launch on March 14th here, and the actual launch was April 20th. So no one really. We did have a press presence. We did put out some marketing materials, press announcements and stuff like that. It didn't have any effect on the people going to the page before the actual Steam visibility round. So that's super important, especially if you look at the long tail. Huh? What happened here? This is the launch. So this everything like this. This is Steam front page. This is the normal level. This is a discount campaign. So compare it to the launch. You need to have everything okay during the launch. You need to have your product getting good reviews. If you get bad reviews here, this is going to be your normal. If you get good reviews here, then hopefully not as much, right? Because if you get bad reviews and then you try to, for example, we had a big campaign here, like minus 90% and front page. No one cares. This is a sad fact. So how much does an average indie game make in Steam? Like in dollars? I think it's something like 30,000 on average. So we did better than the average, but we did 77,000 and the budget was 1.3 million. Like, the rule is that you should get 10 times return. So we should have gotten 13 million in order to be successful with the game. This is not. And you can also see it. This is the revenue as well. So here's the launch. It goes along with the visibility. So basically it's a numbers game. The more you can drive people to your page, the more they're gonna buy it. But revenue-wise, like the launch, it's so much more than compared to the campaigns that we did afterwards. And if here's 0 and here's our normal sales like 2 units per week or something like that. So it really shows the effect of bad reviews as well. So it goes close to the 0. So what was successful? I think it was a really pretty game, very cool looking. It had its problems, but in a sense we were the pioneers and we were a large team, and now we're dispersed among other companies and sharing our knowledge in that sense. So it's not lost, absolutely not. Do we still have time? Yeah. Can I show I'd like to show the trailer for the game.
What was the price?
Initially, it was $20. So we did have a long debate about price. I don't know whether the controls are. Hold on. So to answer your question, no. Well, yeah. Can we take questions? Yeah. Ui. Can you help?
Okay, thank you for your. Does it work?
I don't know.
Hey, hey. It's fine. Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you told that $20 for initial price is high.
Mm.
Then what is the normal price if you want to get good reviews?
I mean, you should like compare it to the actual length of the game. So, going back to the artistic decisions, you could actually run past the game straight to the end like in 2 hours, and people measure the time played versus the price paid. $10 for an hour is quite a lot, I think.
Right. And if you go watch back, how much would you think you want it to cost? Like
€5.
€5. That
Yeah.
will be fine.
Yeah.
Good reviews.
Yeah.
Did you still? So you are not going to release on Oculus anymore?
No, the company is bankrupt.
Okay.
Speaking in Kiev. Yeah. Nothing yet. Something secret.
Okay. Tell us about the game experience, please. So what are you actually doing in a game? And is it a good experience for VR or is it better experience for PC? So tell us about this kind of merging with I mean merging of the PC and VR versions.
Yeah, so I think the game is failed in that sense. In VR, it's obviously better. For PC, it's boring. It's not an such an like an intense experience. In VR, it's an okay experience, but unfortunately, it's such a heavy game that you can run it on Oculus or PSVR.
That's the same comment. Actually, I wanted to tell you as also as a developer.
Mm.
I have a game and which is a VR strategy, and we tried to put it directly in the PC strategy, and make it possible to play together. One player is playing in VR, and the other one is playing from the computer, and it's actually impossible to merge because actually, then Niko said the speed of the game should be different. So you feel the speed different.
Mm.
That's my comment.
Yeah, that's right. But it's hard to make the same game compatible for both because the experience is so different.
It
So
might be even impossible.
yeah.
Actually.